What could we do to help dogs live longer? I read this amazing book called The Blue Zones. And The Blue Zones is a book about humans or centenarians. So these are people that lived longer than 100 years of age. And in this book, they go through some descriptions of different blue zones of the world and what makes them live longer. So let's take a quick look at that. One of the blue zones is Sardinia, and Sardinia is off the mainland of Italy. So in this group community, there were much greater percentage of centenarians, people that lived over 100 than in the rest of the world. And what they noticed with these people is that they lived up in the mountains. So it was a mountainous area and they did a lot of walking. So they were sheep herders and farmers and they walked every day. They had very simple diets. They had diets of bread and goat's milk and cheese, legumes, but they only ate meat about once a week, which makes sense because humans are omnivores. And then they drank wine, and wine is just packed with flavonoids. They also drank a lot of goat's milk. And interestingly, the goats in that area tended to graze on a dwarf curry plant. And of course, curry or turmeric has a tremendous amount of anti inflammatory potential, so antioxidants. And so these goats ate a lot of these small curry plants, and therefore their milk and their meat was very rich in antioxidants. Um, they used a lot of mastic oil. The other thing that's really interesting is they had a great love for family and laughter, but they lived a really simple life, really low stress life. The other thing that I think is fascinating about this is you are what you eat, but you are what your food source is as well. So the Sardinians would eat the goats or drink the goat's milk. And because those goats were healthy by eating the right herbs, that benefit directly transferred to the people. So when our pets are being fed meat that comes from highly stressed cattle that are in feedlots, that high cortisone that is from the heavy stress is going to be seen and reflected in the meat. And then that's the meat that we're feeding to our pets. So it just a kind of a thought. The other place was some islands in Japan, so Okinawa. And in Okinawa, they had 700 centenarians in a population of only 1.3 million. So that's a lot. But what they had was very purposeful lives. They had a mission, they had a purpose. They lived simple lives, but also plant-based diets. They did a lot of gardening. They ate a lot of tofu and soy. And then they maintained really wonderful social support groups. They, like the Sardinians, walked every day, and they did a lot of walking and they did a lot of gardening. They ate medicinal herbs like ginger and turmeric every single day. They were out in the sun, so they got a lot of vitamin D. But they also had a very likable personality, although really strong attitudes. The third place that's described in the blue zones was in Costa Rica. And in Costa Rica, these people also had a really strong sense of purpose. Um, they drank a lot of their water was hard, so it had a higher calcium content. They had a strong sense of family. They were not overweight. They ate light dinners, had strong social networks, and pretty much did physical work pretty much every day of their lives. So really kind of the salt of the earth sort of people. And then the last one was right here in the United States, in Southern California. And this group of people were very religious. So um, they found sanctuary in time and they maintained a nice, healthy body mass. So they weren't overweight. They ate in moderation, of course, omnivores, so they ate plant-based diets, lots of nuts. They had regular, moderate exercise, and they spent time with like-minded people and drank lots of water.
We all absolutely love our animals, so as they get older, we want to do everything we can to keep them healthy and fit. Pets, like people, slow down as they get older. In this video, we'll talk about ways to help them stay in shape and keep that pep in their step for as long as possible.